Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the lethal realities of extreme tourism, and we're using sources that detail the intense commercialization of Mount Everest. We are going to look closely at what actually happens when raw human ambition collides with one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth, and of course, the incredibly heavy toll that follows. So, who actually belongs on the world's highest peak? It's a provocative question, right? Decades ago, Everest was strictly reserved for the world's absolute elite mountaineers. But today? Well, the entire landscape has fundamentally changed. When access to the summit can simply be purchased, we really have to ask ourselves who should be up there. Section 1. A Dream Turned Deadly, the Tragic Ascent of Shreya Shah Chlorfine. To really understand this, we need to look at Shreya's story. Her fascination with the mountains started at age 9 with a simple helicopter tour. Decades later, she turned that childhood awe into this fierce, undeniable determination. For 2 years, she trained by walking 19 kilometers every single day with a 45-pound backpack. And on May 19, 2012, she finally achieved her lifelong dream and reached the summit. But tragically, she would never make it back down. She passed away at an altitude of 8,400 meters. That is deep inside what mountaineers call the death zone. At this extreme altitude, the sheer lack of oxygen makes survival almost impossible for any extended period of time. It's a brutal environment where the human body is essentially dying by the minute. And it's truly heartbreaking. Her reported last words to her Sherpas were simply, "Save me." According to the sources, because she summited so late in the day, guides and other climbers repeatedly urged her to turn back earlier. But, completely unwilling to quit her dream, she reportedly told them, "No, I have to go." She pushed forward, ignored the turnaround times, and ultimately succumbed to those extreme conditions. Which brings us to Section 2, the illusion of access, buying the mountain. Let's look at the numbers, because the contrast here is wild. On one hand, you have reputable, high-end outfitters charging around $100,000. These companies demand rigorous experience, like taking mountaineering courses and proving you've tackled major peaks like Denali. But then, on the other hand, you have the new budget firm Shreya used. They charge between $36,000 and $40,000, and the real kicker? They allowed clients to attempt the climb without any significant prior climbing experience. And how did she finance this? Well, despite organizing fundraisers that actually lost money, she took extraordinary financial risks to secure her spot. To cover the airfare, the equipment, and that $40,000 fee, she took out a second mortgage on her home. It just shows you how incredibly powerful the pull of this mountain is, driving people to leverage their entire livelihoods for just one chance at the summit. Section 3. The Everest Tourist Trap, Systemic Failures on the Slopes. Sharon Wood, the very first North American woman to climb Everest, really hit the nail on the head here. She noted that people are treating the mountain like a goal they can just pull off a shelf, rather than a deadly, unpredictable arena. As the sources point out, outfitting yourself for Everest requires deep, profound understanding and experience. It takes way more than just sheer willpower or a high credit limit. And this whole dynamic has created what veteran mountaineers bitterly call the tourist climber. Imagine this. You have aspiring summiteers using basic equipment like ice axes and crampons for the literal first time on the world's highest peak. They are totally reliant on paid guides for their safety. Veterans argue these tourist climbers clog their routes and become massive liabilities, simply because they can't help themselves, let alone anyone else, in an emergency. In the 2012 season, we saw a perfect lethal storm of these systemic failures. There were 11 total deaths that year, the worst season since 1996, with 4 occurring on May 19th alone. The mountain experienced severe bottlenecks that caused deadly delays right in the middle of the death zone. When you mix inexperienced budget firms, an insufficient supply of bottled oxygen, and clients completely ignoring safe turnaround times, the results are absolutely catastrophic. Section 4. Changing the mountain's rules, Nepal's push for safety. So to try and fix this broken system, officials in Nepal proposed some serious safety regulations back in 2015. They wanted to ensure climbers had actual proven competence before stepping foot on the mountain. Step 1. Require proof of scaling a mountain higher than 6,500 meters. Step 2. Completely ban novice climbers. And Step 3. Ban the very young, the elderly, or disabled individuals who would be totally reliant on others to carry them up. For the government, it became a crucial matter of basic safety over unrestricted commercial access. The Nepalese tourism minister didn't sugarcoat it at all. He basically said, we cannot let everyone go on Everest and die. He went as far as comparing the allowance of unfit climbers to a form of legal suicide. It really underscores their desperate need to restore some dignity and safety to the summit. But here's the catch. Enforcing these rules is incredibly complex. Why? Because roughly 600 climbers visit the mountain annually. This high volume fuels a massive multi-million-pound industry that is absolutely crucial to Nepal's economy. So, balancing the economic lifeblood of the nation against the very real human cost of unregulated climbing, well, it creates an incredibly difficult policy tightrope for officials to walk. Finally, Section 5, the ultimate price. Who really pays? We've got to zoom out and talk about who's actually bearing the heaviest burden here. The sources highlight this stark economic disparity. While Western climbers are paying up to $100,000 for a shot at glory, the local Sherpas and support staff, the ones carrying the heaviest physical burdens and facing the most extreme danger, are doing it for a tiny fraction of that money. And when things go wrong, the lingering footprint on the mountain is incredibly grim. Shreya's body actually remained on the mountain for 10 days, still clipped to the line. Think about that. Other climbers were literally forced to unclip and walk around her. It took over a week just to mobilize the insanely dangerous effort for local teams to retrieve her from over 8,000 meters. So, I want to leave you with this to chew on. Where exactly should society draw the line when it comes to extreme tourism? If nature's greatest, most deadly challenges can simply be bought, what is the true cost of the climb? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating and complex issue with me today in this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you and keep learning.